Hello and welcome to the Skyrival channel, and today we're going to be building the best $800 gaming PC in 2026. Everything has gotten more expensive, but surprisingly, building this PC is going to cost less than a Steam machine. It's going to cost less than a PS5 Pro, all the while being custom. So if you wanted to upgrade the CPU, the graphics card, storage, and RAM to whatever you want in the future, you can totally do that. This is a DIY PC build. It's going to be completely yours. And yes, it can run your favorite PC games. It can also record them. It can also stream them. And yes, you can take your gameplay footage, edit it, and your preferred editing software. It can do pretty much anything except for one thing, which is only going to upset 1% of you watching this video. And I'll tell you what that is later. But otherwise, this is a really great starter gaming PC. So in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to put together this PC step by step, the parts going inside of it and why I chose them, then how to install Windows, drivers, and then its gaming performance, and then finishing out with my final thoughts on this PC build and why I think, despite the memory crisis, this is not too shabby for $800. Anyways, I have the full build list for this PC in the description down below in the PCBuilds.gg link if you want to get the exact parts or similar parts to what I used for this build guide. And with all that said, let's get into it. So all you're going to need to build this PC is a pair of scissors, a banana, and an 8GB or bigger USB flash drive for our Windows bootable media device, which we'll get to when we get to installing Windows. That's how you put Windows on this PC. We won't worry about it. Oh, and yourself. You definitely gotta bring yourself. Like, are you not gonna build your own PC? So for the motherboard and CPU, I'm going with the Intel Core i3-14100F. It doesn't have to be this exact CPU. Don't freak out, it can be the i3-12100F or 13100F. If it's an Intel Core i3 processor, it will work in this build guide. Just make sure it's on the LGA 1700 socket. Because for our motherboard, we are going for this Asus B760M AYW Wi-Fi D42. There are a lot of letters and numbers I just rambled off, and you probably are already tuned out, but there's a specific reason why I like this motherboard and why I like this CPU platform. As you guys all know, memory prices have been going up a lot, especially for DDR5 memory. However, the same sort of price increase hasn't quite been shown in last generation DDR4 memory, hence why this is an $800 build guide. So this motherboard here supports DDR4 memory, which is automatically going to save us like $150, which is going to be really awesome for this budget PC build. Okay, now the biggest talking point, what are we going with memory? Well, like I just said, we are going with last generation DDR4 memory, and we are saving some big dollars in doing so. So I have gone for a 2x8GB kit of DDR4 memory running at 3200 megahertz with a CAS latency of 22. That ain't great, but it is surprisingly affordable compared to other DDR4 16GB RAM kits. If you wanted to get a slightly faster DDR4 RAM kit, you're more than welcome to, but this is what I went with. It's white. It's gonna match up with our PC case. We're going with it. Deal with it. And speaking of storage, which is also affected by the memory crisis, there is one thing I didn't want to cheap out on. A lot of you may think because this is an $800 PC build, I had to cut a lot of corners, which, trust me, a lot of build guides in this price range will do that. But the one thing I didn't want to skimp out on was memory. Not memory, storage. So this here is a 1TB M.2 SSD. But the reason why it's budget is because it doesn't have a built-in DRAM controller. That is completely fine for a gaming PC build under $1,000. But if you're going to do any serious video editing where you're reading and writing a lot to this SSD with constant video files, perhaps you want to upspend to a DRAM supported SSD. If you are a gamer and you completely tuned out of what I just said, don't worry about it. This is going to be fine for this build. After all, Grand Theft Auto 6 is probably going to be at least 250 gigabytes in size, so that's going to take up at least a quarter of this SSD. So don't get a 512 gigabyte SSD. Don't spend less, spend more when it comes to storage. So I'm gonna go ahead and install all of this onto the motherboard, which is to say, if you wanted to find the exact CPU, motherboard, RAM kit, and SSD that I use in this build guide, once again, it'll be in that PCBuilds.gg link. And this goes for various regions, not just for the United States. And if there's one that's different in the parts list, a substitute will be in its place that'll work exactly the same. With that, let's put all this onto the motherboard. So let's go ahead and unbox our motherboard. Let's see what's in there. Zip ties, could use that. SATA cables, don't need this. IO shield, we will need this. Set that aside, pull that open. Here is our Wi-Fi antenna, we will need this. Put that aside. A little warning, we don't need to worry about actually. And then here is our motherboard, let's go ahead and take it out. So first things first, let's go ahead and take out our CPU. Here is our i3 14100F, could be the 12100F, 13100F, whatever you want. Put that aside. One cool thing with these Intel Core CPUs is that they come with their own included CPU cooler, so we'll set this aside and install it later. I will note you are welcome to use your own custom CPU cooler if you want. It can be any aftermarket one from any brand. They will all fit this socket of CPU, but for this tutorial, I'm gonna use the stock cooler. Why? Because it's cheaper. Anyways, let's go ahead and press open this latch, open this up. Let's go ahead and unbox our CPU and check that out. There's gonna be a little triangle on the bottom left of the CPU, and this is gonna line up with the triangle found here on the left side of the socket. You wanna match the two triangles up so that way your CPU is correctly aligned with the socket, which is basically saying that you should be able to read the CPU font on the chip. There you go, it should just drop in place, give it a jiggle, that is in there, press this down, clamp that down, well bam. Let's throw on our stock cooler. There should already be thermal paste pre-applied, you don't need to get your own thermal paste. And we're just gonna fit this into the 4 holes right here. This is going to, we'll go ahead and put it like this, where the fan cable is coming out from the top. We're gonna line this up. Actually, a little hack I'm gonna do is I'm gonna throw this on top of the motherboard box. That way we're not pressing it to a hard surface. And to simply put this in, we're gonna press down 1 pin at a time, like that. The other one, there we go. 3rd one, 4th one. Oh yeah, that is in there. And as you can see, the pins from the CPU cooler are sticking out the back of the motherboard, meaning this is all the way on there. It's not gonna come off. And finally, right here, you can actually see it. There's a little thing that says fan right there. This is our CPU fan header. This is what's going to control our CPU fan here. We wanna plug in the two together. There's gonna, yeah, it's easy guys, come on, just plug it in. Next up, we've got our memory. This is so easy, so simple. Just make sure to open any tabs that are on the motherboard, so just those two. And then as you can see, the little lines here on the memory are different lengths, meaning that our RAM kit is only gonna go in one way. So it's not gonna go in like that, so we're gonna flip it around, and we should just be able to, there we go, give it a firm press, you should hear a click. Oh yeah, that went in easy. Let's do that again. You really wanna make sure these are all the way in there. If they aren't, your system is not gonna boot and you're gonna run into issues, and it's because you were a wuss when you were putting in your RAM sticks. So make sure they're all the way in there. Yep, all right, now let's go ahead and install the SSD. So I lied, there's actually one thing you need from your motherboard box that I didn't tell you to get earlier. And it's this guy right here. This is what we're gonna use to help mount our M.2 SSD to the motherboard. Now, a lot of motherboards come with these already pre-installed, so you don't have to worry about this step, but this one doesn't, so we're just gonna have to take it out of the bag and put it on there. All right, so I've got it locked in on where we're gonna put in that little standoff for our M.2 SSD. So we're gonna take the bulky piece and we're just gonna screw this in on the top. This came with 2 of them and both of them are the same size, so don't worry. As you can see, we have this bulky bit now sticking up top, which means over here is we're gonna go ahead and insert our M.2 SSD. And as you can see here on the actual M.2 SSD, there is a notch. So this is only gonna go in one way and it'll line up a certain way with the connector. So we're just gonna go ahead and insert it like that. Pretty easy. Then we're gonna take our screwdriver, put the small little screw that came with that plastic baggie that we opened up earlier, this little guy right here, and we're just gonna press that down and screw it in. How easy is that? And we're done. And now let's go ahead and put the motherboard into our PC case of choice, which is the Cooler Master Q300L version 3. I've built in the version 1 and in the version 2, and the version 3 is just even better, and it's still $40. And what's really cool about Cooler Master here with this budget PC case is I'm sure you may have browsed for other budget PC cases on Amazon or wherever, and a lot of them look the same. That's because a lot of these PC case brands get a lot of their PC cases from similar factories, but not Cooler Master. They make everything in-house, including a $40 PC case, because you will find nothing else like this. It is small, compact, but doesn't compromise on airflow. And for a $40 PC case, given the memory crisis and how expensive things are getting, we wanna get one of the best budget PC cases out there. And that is the Q300L version 3. So what you'll find in this PC case is a manual. If you have any questions on where to put one in this PC case, what screws you'll need for what, it'll be found in the manual. And speaking of screws, right there is a baggie full of all the screws you'll need to install whatever you want into this PC case. You don't need to buy a separate bag of screws somewhere. It's not like that. These PC case brands want to make it easy for you to build a PC in one of their PC cases. All right, there's our baggie full of screws, and go ahead and take off the rear panel while we're here, which we'll go ahead and use a screwdriver for. There's that rear panel off. Oh yeah, this is a very nice square looking PC case. And simply put, all we're gonna do is basically this. However, before we do that, this is something that you grabbed from your motherboard box. This is an IO shield we picked up from the motherboard box. We're gonna need to put this into the PC case first before we install the motherboard. There we go. Here's our IO shield. We're gonna turn this PC case around. We're gonna put it right here, and we can actually do this pretty easily. Imagine as if the motherboard is inside your PC case. You're gonna want your IO shield to line up with it. So the IO shield is gonna go something like this, which means we're gonna put it into the PC case like this. And to do that, we're gonna bring it inside the case first. Then we're going to wanna line it up with the 4 corners here. Let's go ahead and knock these out, 1 corner at a time. There we go. And simply put, the flat side should be on the outside of the PC case, and the part with the sticky bits should be on the inside of the PC case. And note, not all motherboards are gonna have the IO shield detached. It could be already on the motherboard. This is just a step we have to do, so we wanna do it before we put it in the motherboard. And with that, let's put it in the PC case. So this is gonna be super straightforward. Before we even put in the motherboard, Cooler Master have already done the work and put in these standoffs for our motherboard. So this right here are all the standoffs we'll need. We don't need to put in any more, so we'll just go ahead and leave that in. Then we'll just simply drop in our motherboard, line it up with that IO shield, make sure it fits. There we are, and I can actually see the standoffs poking out of each of these holes for our motherboard, which is sweet. Now, as far as what screws we'll need, we'll just go ahead and refer to the case manual. We've actually got all the screws listed out right here. And if we go ahead and flip the page, I think it's gonna tell us straight away what screws we'll need. Right there on step 1, where we put in our motherboard, it says we're gonna need screws labeled A. So this screw right here, which is going to be this one right here, one of these thicker screws. So within each of these holes, I'm gonna go ahead and take 1 screw, put it into each standoff. And note, I'm gonna screw this in, but not completely. I'm going to screw in each of these screws about 90% of the way and leave the 10% for later. Okay, and now I've got all the screws in there at 90%. And I'm gonna go ahead and tighten now the remaining screws all the way to 100%. Reason why I wanna do this is that way I put equal pressure on all sides of the motherboard, and I wanna do this in roughly a crisscross formation, but with the amount of standoffs we have here, it's not gonna be a whole lot. And while I am here, I'm gonna go ahead and plug in our 1 included fan here from the Q300 version 3. So you can see right here, we have a CHA_fan1, similar to what you found earlier with the CPU fan. The CHA stands for chassis, AKA PC case. And we're just gonna go ahead and take our 1 cable from that 1 fan, plug it in right here. We'd of course plug in more fans into this PC case later into our motherboard, but this is the one that is closest to that 1 fan. And if you're wondering, there is our channel fan too, if we want to plug in more fans to the motherboard, which we can do at a later time. But otherwise, let's go ahead and finish out the system. Okay, and we're actually getting pretty close to finishing out the build. Next, we're gonna go ahead, put in our power supply. For this build guide, I've gone with the Montech Beta 2 550 watt. You don't need this exact power supply to make this PC build work. Any 80 plus bronze, 550 watt or higher power supply will be fine for this build. What I got linked in that PC build strategy link in the description down below will take care of you. But if there's one thing I will suggest for your choice of power supply, other than wattage, because sure, you can get 550 watts now, but you could get a 750 or 850 watt power supply if you're gonna throw in a faster graphics card in the future, is that for this PC case, for the Q300L specifically, I go with a non-modular power supply, AKA all of the cables are already hooked up to the power supply. A lot of build guides I've done on this channel feature modular power supplies where you manually plug in the cables you need. But with a PC case like this with an exposed PSU shroud, actually going with a non-modular power supply is not only cheaper, but it actually looks cleaner. And the Montech Beta 2 is the best looking budget power supply while still having the internals you'd want to have a powerful system. And no, this is not a crappy power supply. This is not gonna bonk on you, don't worry. Inexpensive power supplies have come a long way. And speaking of, you are going to need this right here. This is the power cable for your power supply, and there's some screws in here that you will need as well. Right here are 4 screws that you're going to use to put the power supply into the PC case, which let's go ahead and do now. So actually, this 4 screws we'll need for our power supply are already pre-screwed into the Cooler Master Q300LV3, which is pretty sweet. So I'm gonna go ahead and unscrew these one by one. And actually, this is a unique thing for this PC case, but as you can see, there's actually something that we've been screwing out behind here, because this is a PSU mount adapter for the Q300LV3, which means we're gonna put our power supply like this right up to it. So remember that baggie of screws I showed you guys earlier? We will actually need this to screw in the power supply into this bracket, and then we'll screw it into the PC case with those silver screws. So in goes the screws that came with the power supply. All right, we've got that final screw going in, and once that is complete, we'll go ahead and throw this straight into the PC case. We're gonna put those cables aside, make sure there's room for our power supply. That's gonna butt up into the back of the PC case, just like that. And then we'll go ahead and put back in those silver screws that we unscrewed earlier now into the mounting bracket. There we go. We have our power supply in now. And if you're wondering, we're going to keep the switch on this power supply at the 0 because we're not ready to turn on the system yet. But when we are, we'll flick that to the 1. Now, all that's left to virtually install is just your graphics card. But before we do that, let's go ahead and deal with all of these cables first. Now, I will admit, I did get some additional fans for this PC case from Cooler Master. I am going to install off camera. Installing them is no different than installing PC case fans in any other PC case. But otherwise, I'm gonna show you guys how to plug in all of these white cables, which are our front I/O cables. So your power button, your USB-C, your USB 3.0, your audio jack, all that fun stuff in your PC case that is found right here. It's all connected to this. And then we're gonna go ahead and plug in all of our power cables and then anything else we might need. All right, let's go ahead and plug everything in. And as you can tell, I went and took care of those 2 case fans that I just wanted to install. It's pretty straightforward. I just bolted them onto the PC case, hooked them together, and then I actually plugged them into the remaining CHA_fan header 2 slot that I showed you guys earlier when I first put in the motherboard. And right next to it was a handy little 3-pin ARGB connector, which means these fans are actually ARGB, which I'm not complaining. Otherwise, let's go ahead and plug in all of these white connectors first, starting with this port right up here. This is your USB 3.0 port. I'm gonna go ahead and actually filter all of these through the back side of the PC case. So here's our USB 3.0 header. I'm gonna go ahead and plug this in. We'll do it from the bottom. As you can see, there's a little notch right here on the connector that's gonna line up with this insert on the connection, meaning this will only go in one way. It is highly unlikely that you mess this up. The connector will let you know if it's not going in all the way. There you go, that's in, done. We have a sad moment with this motherboard that I totally didn't anticipate, but might actually change my choice of motherboard in the PC builds.gg link. This is a USB Type-C header that we can't plug into this motherboard because it doesn't have a Type-C header. That's so disappointing. So this is one we're unfortunately gonna have to stow away. So for the moment, we actually can't use the USB 3.0, not 3.0, the USB Type-C port found here on the front of the PC case. So I might actually have to go with a different motherboard in that PC builds.gg link that has a Type-C header on it so that cable can be populated. What is for certain though is our HD audio connector, this connector all the way here on the bottom left of the motherboard. This will go in the bottom left of every motherboard virtually ever made in the last 10 years. This position has never changed. Doesn't matter if it's Asus, Gigabyte, or whatever. This is gonna go here on the bottom left. And this will only go in one way. And if you're wondering where I'm finding all the connectors for this motherboard, well, I went ahead and found them in the motherboard manual for our Asus motherboard. You can find it online. You just click on support, download the manual, or I think I take that back. There is actually some sort of motherboard that came in the box for the motherboard. This is a really nice like motherboard map that shows you where to plug in what. So we just plugged in that HD audio connector right down there. And next up, we're gonna go ahead and plug in our front panel connectors. And that's basically it, because otherwise we're just gonna go ahead and plug in our CPU power up here, our motherboard power, and we're pretty much done. So this is our F panel connector all the way down here. This is for our power button, our reset button, and anything else. And this is all in a singular connector. It's so easy. It's gonna go here on this bottom right connector where it says F panel on the motherboard, done. And now let's go ahead and plug in all of our power cables, which to start this off, I'm going to throw all of these through this Oh yeah, all through this big hole right here. That way it's out of sight, out of mind. So first I'm gonna go ahead and bring this big chunky connector. This is our motherboard connector right here. It's gonna go right here. Note there's this little latch here on the connector that's gonna line up with this little notch here on the connection. That means this is only gonna go in one way. You won't mess this up. You won't break the motherboard. Make sure it's fully pressed in there though. The motherboard can bend a little bit, that's fine. Just make sure it's all the way in there. And finally, what I'm holding here, right here in my hands, is the CPU power connector. This is gonna go where my pinky is. Once again, there's a little latch right here. It's gonna line up with the notch on the connector, meaning this is only gonna go in one way. Take your time. There could be another connector attached to this, but since this is a basic motherboard, it only needs a single 8-pin CPU power connector, meaning we are almost done with our power cables because we have got our PCIe power cable right here. This is for our graphics card. I've got this threaded through the bottom of the PC case. We're just gonna leave this hanging right here because now we're gonna go ahead and install the graphics card. Okay, I went ahead and did some cable management on the rear of the PC case. Now I'm gonna go ahead and bolt on the rear panel, which this square, right? I think this will go on like this, right? There we go, figured it out. And now, finally, to put here into the PC case is going to be our graphics card, which I have chosen for this build guide specifically, the Intel Arc B570. So, why Intel for an $800 PC build guide? Well, the big question is, why hasn't AMD or NVIDIA come out with their own $230 graphics card? Where is it? The B570 has 10 gigabytes of VRAM, can run virtually anything at 1080p. And like I said at the very start of the video, the one thing this gaming PC can't do if you utilize this graphics card is virtual reality gaming. If you wanted to use a VR headset with a Meta Quest or whatever the heck you want, Intel Arc drivers aren't the best for VR. However, they can do everything else. Whether you want to run eSports games like Fortnite, Valorant, Marvel Rivals, Counter-Strike, whatever, or AAA PC games that utilize ray tracing at 1080p, the B570 can do it. And if you look at the competition, AMD has no $230 graphics cards on the market, and NVIDIA has the RTX 5050, which is currently $70 above MSRP. And right now, this is only $250, not too shabby. And once again, 10 gigabytes of VRAM is welcome. Note, I will be testing this exact graphics card in this PC, but what I have linked in that PCbuilds.gg link is going to be the ASRock Challenger Edition version of this GPU. Funny enough, this is actually a B580 I'm holding in my hands. So I'll install this into the PC case, but for the benchmark section, I'll have the B570 there so you can actually see how fast it really is. Anyways, to install the graphics card into the PC, we're gonna go ahead and remove this screw right here. Just gonna remove this little bracket thingy that's protecting our PCI Express slots. If we look here, we're gonna be populating the top two PCI Express slots for our graphics card. So let's go ahead and take those out. We're taking out PCI Express slot 1 and 2. Gonna put those aside. With your graphics card, make sure that you remove the PCI Express slot that is protecting your PCI Express slot. Did I not say cover? Just make sure to remove this before you put in the graphics card. Anyways, this is going to go into that topmost PCI Express slot right here. We're just gonna take the card. You might need to remove some of these black covers right here, protecting your HDMI and display ports on the graphics card. And it looks like our USB 3.0 cable is in the way. And how we're going to fix that is we're gonna go ahead and take off the rear panel, and we're just going to reroute the USB 3.0 cable so the cable isn't coming from the bottom of the PC case, but instead is coming from the top of the PC case, just like that. That way we can insert our Arc B570 straight into the PC. Hey, there we go, just like that. And if you're wondering, do you need an Arc B570 in order to make this PC work? No, you can use any graphics card you want. You can use a used graphics card from a previous generation. Any graphics card will work with this PC build. But what I'm doing now is screwing it back in. That is screwed in. I'm gonna go ahead and put back on this express cover right here. There you go, just slide that in. All right. And the final thing we're gonna do is we're gonna plug in that PCIe power cable that we had hanging around into our graphics card. So you can tell there's a little latch here on the connector. This is nothing new. You've already done this with the motherboard and CPU power cables. Just plug it in to where it lines up with the graphics card. If it doesn't go in, then flip it around. And there we go. We are finished building this PC. Let's go ahead and grab a monitor, keyboard, and mouse and turn it on for the first time. And I almost forgot. You see this right here? These are your Wi-Fi antenna connectors, which we'll go ahead and screw in our Wi-Fi antenna into. There we go. And if you're wondering, this was found in the motherboard box at the very start of the video. And let's see, let's just throw it on here. Actually, I'm gonna run this through here. Then that way, this is, there you go. Now we've got that on there, and let's finish this out. All right, let's turn this thing on and get to gaming. So go ahead and plug in your keyboard, your mouse, but we need to plug in the PC, we need to get the power for it, and we need to get the display cable for it. So if you remember, in your power supply box, you were given an additional power cable. You're gonna wanna plug one end into the power supply and one end into a wall outlet, surge protector, power outlet, whatever. And while you're there, go ahead and flip the switch from a 0 to the 1. That way when you press the power button, the PC actually turns on. Next, and a lot of people mess this up, we're gonna go ahead and plug in our display cable. So this can be HDMI, it could be DisplayPort, it really doesn't matter. What does matter is that we're gonna plug in one end of the cable into where the graphics card is. So please note, look at the cable. It's coming from down here. This is where your graphics card is. It's not coming from up here. Your graphics card isn't located up here. Your graphics card is what computes the graphics for your gaming PC. So therefore, this cable is not gonna be where your motherboard is. It's gonna be where your graphics card is down here. And then plug one end into the monitor. And with that in, the final thing we're gonna do is that we're gonna go ahead and plug in our Windows 11 bootable media device into this PC, into any USB 3.0 port on the back of the PC. I have a full Windows tutorial linked in the description down below showing you how to create one of these for free with any, and I mean any flash drive imaginable. It could be one that is 1 year old. It could be one that is 10 years old. It does not matter as long as it's 8 gigabytes or bigger in capacity. So follow that tutorial, then cut back to this video, and then I'll go ahead and just plug this into any blue color port here on the back of the PC case. Make sure the power supply is switched to the 1. Then we'll go ahead and press the power button right there in the middle. The PC just turned on, and we're gonna look for our signal on the monitor to see if it actually boots up. So I got a new monitor and I was setting it up and I didn't know exactly how to turn it on. Now I just did. But if you get a screen like this, don't freak out. That just means you turned off your PC when it should have been on and just running Windows. So I think if we follow the screen, all we gotta do is press, new CPU has been installed, yup. Press F5 to load the factory default. Actually, no, F1. There we go, enter the BIOS. Oh, and you know what? I think I put in the wrong flash drive. 1 second. Actually, turns out I had the right USB flash drive, just for whatever reason, my stock Intel CPU cooler wasn't keeping the CPU cool. So I had to switch to the aftermarket cooler. But as you can see, we're here on the Windows screen. Now let's go ahead, install Windows, and get this PC up and running. So let's go ahead and install Windows on the PC. But first, before we do any of that, I recommend you go over to winprokeys.com, and there you can pick up a Windows 11 or 10. But for this tutorial, since we're doing 11, we gotta do 11 Pro key or home. I recommend Pro because why not? It's only a few dollars more. And this is the site that I use to activate every single one of my PCs that I've done so far in 2026. You can also use my discount code PCBuildsGG if you want a percentage off your order. And I was able to pick up a Windows 11 Pro key that we're gonna use for this activation. But first, before we get there, let's hit next. Next, install Windows 11, click the check mark, hit next. Here is where we're gonna go ahead and enter in that product key that we got from WinPro Keys. Okay, it is checking this key. Your product key works. Continue when you are ready. I am ready. There we go. As you can see, it's a valid key. Hit accept. Now here's where to go ahead and select that 1TB M.2 SSD that we're going to install Windows on, install, and we just sit here and wait. All right, once you give it a little bit, you'll hit this screen, choose your country. You don't need a second keyboard layout. Now here's where we go ahead and connect to the internet. And as you saw right when we finished the building section, there is indeed Wi-Fi on this motherboard, but we don't have any drivers for that motherboard right now. So we have a few options from here. One, we can actually download the driver on another PC, upload it to a flash drive, put the flash drive in the PC, select it on here. We can, unzip it, run it, blah, blah, blah. That's an option. If you have an Ethernet cable that can let you plug your PC directly to your router, that's also an option. Or if you have a spare Wi-Fi adapter, you can go ahead and plug this into the back of the PC, and this should automatically be recognized by your internet. Or you can bypass this entirely by pressing Shift F10 on your keyboard. Oh, we opened up too many command prompts. There we go. And just go ahead and type in start space ms-config local only correction CXH. So there's the command. Hit enter, and we'll just go ahead and create an offline account for this PC. Later, you can, of course, get your Wi-Fi installed, associate your Microsoft account to the PC. But for the moment, this is just really simple. I'll call this subscribe to Scattervolt. For the password, it'll be whatever. And here we can just go ahead and set up our privacy settings, which I like to toggle all of these off. That way there's no processes running in the background. We can have clean windows. As you can see, this is completely clean. And as a result, we do have no Wi-Fi, but we can fix this later. So pretend this is on another PC. It could be on a laptop, a public computer, whatever. Let's go ahead and find the Wi-Fi drivers for our motherboard first before we install the rest of our drivers for our PC. So to do that, it's going to be really simple. We're just going to type in the name of our motherboard into the search bar. Here we go. Here's our motherboard. Let's click on the topmost asus.com link. This goes for any brand of motherboard, whether it's Gigabyte, ASRock, MSI, whatever. There is our motherboard. Now we'll just scroll down. Never mind, it's right here under support. We're gonna click on drivers and tools, and look at that. There is our wireless drivers. Let's go ahead and download that. Let's go ahead and plug in a spare USB flash drive. This can actually be the same one that you just used when you initially installed Windows on this PC. Just make sure to format it so it's completely clear. And all we'll do is we'll go ahead and just extract all, browse this PC. There is our flash drive that we just plugged in. You can just select this, extract, and then you should be left with a screen like this on that flash drive. Take that flash drive, put it in this PC, open it up, and then click on ASUS setup here at the top. Hit yes, and as we can see, we have no internet, but that's because it's installing the Wi-Fi drivers. Ooh, and check that out. All right. Under here, it says available. I'm gonna go ahead and click on the arrow. I'm gonna click on my internet, and there we go. All you have to do is download Wi-Fi drivers on another PC, download those into a USB, put the USB into the PC just like what you did for installing Windows, extract, open the Wi-Fi drivers on the PC, run, install, well, bam, you're connected to the internet, and now we're pretty much in the home free. So on this same website where our motherboard is, I'm gonna go ahead and click on drivers and tools. We don't need LAN because we're using wireless. We'll go ahead and download the chipset drivers. We'll go ahead and download the audio drivers. We'll go ahead and download the Bluetooth drivers. And that's all of the drivers associated with our motherboard and CPU. Then I'll go ahead and open up a new tab, and we'll go ahead and download the graphics card drivers for our Arc B570. Now, if you chose a different GPU, you just type in NVIDIA drivers, enter, well, bam, easy. If you have an AMD GPU, just type in AMD drivers, well, bam. But since we have that Intel Arc graphics card, we'll type in Intel Arc drivers. So you can see they're at the very top. You're not gonna mess this up. Just click on the graphics drivers link, latest game on drivers, download. And while that is downloading, here are all of the other drivers associated with our motherboard that we just finished. So I'm gonna go ahead and extract each of these so that way we open up each file. So there we have our graphics card drivers, our Bluetooth, audio. I'm just gonna open these up one by one, install these, but I like to do this safe rather than sorry. So I like to download all the chipset drivers first. And then once all of those wrap up, then I'll install the graphics card drivers. That way there's no interruption in the installation process for our graphics card drivers. So it's all good to go. And once all of those are finished, we'll go ahead and install our graphics card drivers. For whatever reason, people think this is a difficult step. It's not. Modern day graphics card drivers are so easy to install. Like, It's actually, the challenging part is doing a clean uninstall if you wanted to say, get a fresh install of drivers or replace your graphics card. But if you're just building a new PC, it's just really straightforward. All right, we will go ahead and we don't need the driver support assist. We don't need the program. We'll keep that SDK, the software and the driver. Yes, install, and you're done. We'll let this finish up and then we'll do one more thing in the BIOS. Oh, hey. Look at that, installation complete. So let's go ahead and click on shutdown now that we've gotten every single driver for our system all good to go. And we're gonna do one more thing in the BIOS before we get to gaming. When we see the brand of our motherboard pop up, we're gonna spam the delete key on our keyboard to enter the BIOS. And all we're gonna do is right here under XMP. Oh, it could be that our RAM kit actually doesn't have XMP as a profile. Wow, really? Well, anyways, I'm gonna link a RAM kit that actually has an XMP profile on it because I don't want you running at that speed with CAS latency of 22. But anyways, you would go ahead and enable this and click save and exit, and then you can get to gaming. All right, let's start things off with my favorite game right now, Forza Horizon 6. And just to show that I've swapped out the graphics card to the actual ARC B570 that I showed you guys earlier, here it is. This is the B570, not the B580, and I'm gonna show you guys its gaming performance. Also, I'm recording all of this in the PC. I'll show you guys the OBS settings here on screen if you're curious on how I set it up. And note the only thing I had to do to get OBS working on this PC was that I had to set the power setting for it in Windows to high performance. And then that made this what it is right now. Actually, let me put on the side panel right now. Yeah, there you go. Anyways, Forza Horizon 6, settings, graphics. We are basically at high settings, but I've gone ahead and turned off all of the motion blur, lens effects, fog, particle effects. That stuff doesn't matter. It actually takes away FPS. And then for the video settings, I've got it set to 1080p, and the only cheating, because there are those people out there who get upset when I have this toggled on, and I'll show you what it looks like with it toggled off. But I have Intel XESS upscaling turned on, Intel XESS SR, and I have it set to ultra quality mode. And this nets us a fair bit of FPS. And let me show you. We are hot lapping the Maserati MC12, our on Hoboku circuit. This is knocking out actually two birds with one stone right now on the festival playlist. It says, one, you gotta drive a Maserati for at least 10 miles, and two, you gotta do at least 3 time attack laps around this circuit, which is what we're doing right now. And as far as our FPS goes, let's see, now we're below 100, now we're above 100. Now we are, 120. And note, this is at high settings. If you wanted to take things a little easy, set it to medium, you can totally do that. There you might actually be around 120 to maybe even 130, 140, but I'm pretty happy with high settings right here. Woo! Anyways, this is with Intel XESS turned on. Let's go ahead and show you guys what it looks like without any FPS upscaling turned on, because there's people out there who request that. So video, let's go down to Intel XESS. Let's turn it off for all the people out there who are, they're fun at parties, you know? Those kind of people. Without any upscaling. Let's see, we've maybe dropped about 15 or so FPS. No? Oh, I just missed a checkpoint. Oh, I just missed a checkpoint. No. So, we're actually getting the same FPS. What? What? That ain't right. That ain't right. As a matter of fact, that is so not right. I'm gonna go ahead and do one other thing, because even though we're on an Intel GPU, we can totally do this. We're gonna turn on AMD FSR3 frame generation, because we can. This better net us more FPS. FPS is a little higher. But honestly, like, you know, this might be a situation where I feel like the trade-off is not, you know, entirely there. You can leave frame upscaling, frame generation off, and you aren't losing a lot of FPS in this game. All right, Fortnite, you got one. We are playing on the $800 PC, no joke. Let me find where I can show you guys the graphics settings real quick. We are playing DirectX 12, custom settings until XESS turned on. There you go, blah, blah, blah. We're getting 120. Oh, there's smoke now. Oh, this is fantastic. What else? 116, 110, 120. Hey, this is good, right? All you Fortnite gamers care about FPS, and if you have a 1080p 144 hertz monitor, you can go actually lower in the graphics settings and probably get even more FPS. What's going on over here? You want to know why I like this mode? Because I only do 0 build. Oh, I'm out of ammo. Shoot, let me get out of there. I'll take this guy with this little pistol. I don't care. I'll do it. Oh man, these kids are so bad. I remember when Fortnite was a legitimate challenge when a game first came out in 2018 with its Battle Royale mode. I genuinely remember when it was a challenge and I could not get kills. And now, 8 years on, so easy because these kids are so... Their brains are getting just rot from the inside, bro. Anyways, I'm done. One more game. That's good graphically. So here is Cyberpunk 2077. This was the AAA game to run a few years back. Not a few years back, it's been quite a while actually. This game is gonna become 6 years old soon. But this is a game that showcases ray tracing, and I just want to show you guys that right now for the graphics settings, I have everything turned on for ray tracing. Although for lighting, we have it set to medium. And as far as the overall graphics, it's set anywhere from high to ultra. And once again, we are playing at 1080p. Now, I'll show you guys what this looks like without AMD FSR, frame generation, and all that. But just for the moment, let's just enjoy this. It's a single-player game. It's fine if you have frame generation turned on. It's free performance. It's not like you're going to be competing against other people in a game. You're just enjoying for its graphical fidelity. Which, speaking of, let's do it. Let's increase ray trace lighting from medium to psycho. Let's see if this little $250 graphics card can handle it. Well, in terms of frame rate, we are... yeah, still 80, still 90. I mean, honestly, what's the big deal? Like, you know, we're doing it. Oh yeah, no, we gotta get out of there for whatever reason. Yeah, no, never mind. But for all those bloomers out there who are like, I will not play a game if it has frame generation turned on. Well, let's go to settings and let's turn it off. Here you go. Let's show the, oh wait, maybe it's actually, it might not apply. Oh, there we go. There you go. So we went from 90, 80 FPS to 50. You lose on like 30 to 40 FPS. So I hope that makes you happy. Hope that makes you feel better. I'm turning on frame generation because I want that extra frame rate. It doesn't degrade video quality a whole lot. I'm not going to be fighting for frames in a single player game. Yeah. You want to run AAA games? This PC can do it, just at 1080p. We can look at that dedicated memory used, and we are exceeding 8 gigabytes of VRAM. We are actually kind of getting close to the 10 gigabyte VRAM buffer. So for all of those, 8 gigabytes is fine at 1080p. Well, it is fine unless you want to go into settings and enable psycho level ray trace lighting. You just need more VRAM because more ray tracing needs more VRAM. And yeah, this graphics card is handling it with grace. Let's finish out the video. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up this PC with basically saying there's one thing this PC can't do. I'll tell you what that is near the end of the segment, but otherwise, let me tell you what this PC can do. As you just saw from the benchmark section, this is pretty much a straight up 1080p gaming PC. And even in certain games, like Forza Horizon 6 and Cyberpunk 2077, when we cranked up ray tracing all the way, we were using up quite a bit of VRAM, so I'm pretty happy we went with the B570 because we're given that additional 2 gigabytes of VRAM with having 10 gigabytes of VRAM over, say, a usual 8 gigabyte graphics card. We especially saw that in Cyberpunk when we turned up ray tracing all the way. We were eating up almost 10 gigabytes of VRAM, and this system was handling it surprisingly fine, actually. I wouldn't say this is a 1080p Ultra gaming PC though for AAA titles. I think it's more 1080p medium to 1080p high. Still though, I think for $800, I wouldn't be complaining. There are a few things I will change though in the PC build, so I'll just link in the description down below. I might go with a different motherboard to work with this PC case because as you saw during the front IO section, we had a spare USB Type-C cable that wasn't plugged into anywhere because there wasn't a port for it on the motherboard, which is is really sad because I think everyone should be able to use the Type-C port on this PC. Secondly, I'm probably going to change the RAM, which means it's going to go up in price, but that's because we couldn't enable any sort of XMP profile, and that alone can net you about an extra 8 to 10 FPS all around by having tuned memory presets already loaded on the RAM. Sure, you can custom tune them yourselves in the BIOS, but I'm expecting for a lot of you guys watching this video, you don't have the time or the patience to do that, and it's just really easy if the RAM already had XMP built in. But with that, the only thing this PC can't do is VR gaming. Because of the Intel Arc graphics card I have in this PC, there are no good VR drivers right now for Intel Arc. That's been the case for a while since they first got introduced. So if you wanted to do VR gaming, I would swap out this graphics card for one from AMD or Nvidia, but I wouldn't look at their new options because the RTX 5050 is not a great value. AMD doesn't have anything good right now, brand new for the same price of a B570. I look at getting something used, like a used RX 6600, 6650 XT, or like an Nvidia RTX 4060, 4060, those are fine. Otherwise, I'm pretty happy with this build, and once again, you can find all the parts for it linked in the description down below in that PC builds.gg link where everything is laid out for you. And if you've enjoyed the build guide, drop a like, and if you enjoy PC build guide videos, I plan to put out more, so you ought to subscribe. So with all that said, thank you so much for watching, and this is the Skyverld channel, signing out.